This is week 9 material, week 8 material, and we're in week 10. We want to talk about heating load. So after this class, we should be ready to go and roll with the project. So please, for next week, keep your project material with you and the floor plan. We'll do 1 or 2 rooms together, step by step. Then I'll have you do something by yourself and come and check with me. It's very essential that by the end of the semester, you know how to do heat loss calculation on a floor plan. Okay? Next semester, you're gonna use the same idea for a different project. So now we're talking about our heating options. So we decided now, after we did the heat plan, that we need 60,000 BTU per hour for heating the house. What are we going to do? The concept of efficiency, always it's output over input. What you got over what you put in. You go and want to buy some bread, how many loaves per dollar? If it's 6 loaves per dollar, it's better than 5 loaves per dollar. So efficiency, output and input, what are you getting and what is it equal to? If I'm going to put in 140,000 BTUs, I'm getting 60,000 BTU, that's really not a good deal. Convection using air or water, we talked about that. Transmission inside the system, we talked about that as well. How do things move from one place to another inside the system, meaning inside the house, from the basement, and so on. We also talked about efficiencies on Wednesday. I will say usually it's between 35 to 95, depending on how you burn things. 95, that's if you burn things efficiently, like in gas, for example. Now they have condensing boilers where you get efficiency of 95% and everything is burned very well. So, did any of you before light a bonfire or a fireplace? So, did you notice when you blow too much air in it, the color of the flame is different? When do you get smoke? When there's not enough heat. So smoke happens as a cause of inefficiency. Not enough fuel, not enough air. The color of the fire is very dim, or like yellowish or orange, means like very low, so it's not burning completely, and that's when you have incomplete combustion. That means you're not burning that wood efficiently. If you have a wood pellet stove, where you dump the bag of pellets on the top, and you look at the chamber where they're burning the wood, it's glowing yellow and white. What are they doing? They're pumping air constantly, burning a few pellets at a time, but the burning temperature is very high, which means it's burning completely efficiently within whatever is possible. So, for burning stuff, you need also to get the right temperature to burn things efficiently. You can burn anything efficiently with no smoke. What is it? How come your car now does not make smoke? Old cars make a lot of smoke. The new ones do not. What's happening in there? Even though if your engine is consuming oil, you still see no smoke. What's happening?
Catalytic converter.
Yeah. What does the catalytic converter do?
Catalytic converter?
Yeah.
Killing smoke.
How? It's a chamber made of precious metals. It has platinum in it. It has some silver, some platinum. What happens is it heats up very quickly, very fast, and it stores heat. So whatever gases comes through it will be burned, and you don't see smoke. It's good for the environment. So even if your engine is crap, it's really like burning oil. The catalytic converter will give it enough heat so it will burn completely, and you see nothing coming out. It's still probably engine need to be overhauled and burning gas, but it's better to have the gas burned completely than to have some kind of toxic waste coming outside. So this is the idea of a catalytic converter. Over time, of course, if you're burning a lot of oil, you will foul it, but usually it doesn't go bad that quickly. So it has chambers, it has heat. So the idea is that I'm trying to convey here is heat can burn anything without smoke efficiently. You can burn tires for heat. You can burn engine oil for heat. If you burn at the right temperature, it's not going to smoke. But what are you going to get out of it? Probably a lot of toxic waste. There are some plants who do a lot of toxic waste heat, and they do it with a lot of filters, so whatever comes out of it, they capture and they filter it. Okay. Another example of burning things inefficiently. For those who smoke, Probably you've noticed that depending on the type of cigarettes, how fast you draw air make the flame goes brighter or lower. And they had some research saying in the 90s when they came up with the light cigarettes, saying, oh, light cigarettes are still as bad as for you than regular cigarettes. Why? Because you end up sucking more in the cigarette, and the temperature of the burning is higher than the regular one, which is going to produce different things. At each temperature, you produce different kind of toxic and different kind of things. You should not be putting any kind of smoke in your lungs anyway. Should be. So any kind of, even aerosols are really bad. It's foreign objects to your lungs. Your lungs are not supposed to handle that. So input of output, we said oil, electricity, and natural gas. And we also talked about losses. How do we lose things in the house? We said a lot of losses happens inside the house. Sometimes you want to lose heat. You want to lose heat. It's kind of part of the calculation. Like where? In the basement. I want to leave the pipes a little bit exposed. Why? I want to be mildly warm. So I don't want to go so I will account for that. But you also want heat control. Should I just put a heater in there and control how much heat comes in there, or just leave the pipes? So sometimes you want to control. Is the loss going inside or outside? That's also another issue. Do you want to put insulation between floors or not? Maybe you don't want to. Maybe you want to just keep things warm downstairs, and the warm from downstairs will go upstairs. I told you sometimes if you live without somebody who cracked the heat, probably don't even need to heat your house. Get all the heat from there in the living space. So waste heat. So there are some stuff we cannot do anything about unless you change a boiler. So the newest boilers, they are called condensing boilers, which they can achieve 95 combustion efficiency. And we gotta differentiate between combustion efficiency and thermal efficiency. Thermal efficiency, you can get up to 95, 97. What is thermal efficiency? Let me write it down.
Isn't it the heat made at the boiler versus what it puts out at the exit?
You are correct. So there's something called combustion efficiency. BTU out, BTU in fuel. This is usually between, it varies, it could be between 50% to 95, depending on heat. Thermal efficiency. So the heat coming out, the you absorbed, and the heat actually having the change. That depends on the design. How efficient are the jackets and the radiators and the circulation of the flue gases coming out of the boiler. So when you go to the warehouse, you see this commercial for thermal flue, whatever, they give you the thermal efficiency, which is amazing, but it has nothing to do with the combustion efficiency. Combustion efficiency is something else, and you have to consider that. For combustion efficiency, if you have a condensing boiler, probably you can reach 95. And if you have also a condensing boiler, you can have with a good thermal efficiency. What is condensing boiler? I'll give you a description once I get the picture. They are the new thing now. They're very popular, and I highly recommend them if you install them correctly. We talked about those people and steam and the invention of pumps, plus the pump was the new thing that made us use hot water. I would say hot water is better than steam because it's efficient, because I don't have to heat up all the way to 220. 180 is achievable. Hydronic is steam and water. Piping advanced, we have more PVC now, more PEX, make things easier. We talked about combustion, and we had the dispute here about natural gas, and I put a link here from the Gene Toolbox, which actually shows you that gas conversion is around 20,000 BTU per gallon. You're going to convert gallons to cubic feet, so this is a link. You can check it. And again, it has all the fluids, all the gases you can have, even including butane, so you can check that. Who was asking that guy? Robonik. You were asking me about the gases and the fuels, the BTUs. So, if you look at the blends here, this is all the gases you can have. Acetylene that's used for welding. This is the BTU you can get per foot cube, and 1 foot cube is 7.5 gallons. So if we look at natural gas, depending on what natural gas do we have, methane. So methane is like very 1,000, so around 7,000 per gallon. That's very low. You see that? And if I look at what kind of mix I have, coal gas, butane. That's 3,000, so times 7, that's 20,000 for natural gas. What is propane? Propane and propane is
Slow it down.
methane around 1,000. Natural gas typically between 9,000 and 1150. And 22, that's per pound. So propane times 7, 25 is going to be around.
Is it always times 7?
Because I'm converting from feet cube to gallon.
Oh, from.
Because you want to compare apples to apples. Yeah, so 1 foot cube is 7.5.
Gallon.
Yeah. Don't you just love it? Everything's online. Things are easy, just Google. Used to be like you go to the library and find a book and nonsense. It's very convenient, but again, so this is your reference. Very credible. If you look at any gases, again, it depends. So we go back to the PowerPoint, probably natural gas we say per gallon. Natural gas from here. I'll go with the 1150. Times 7.5, 8,600. Okay. We got that matter resolved.
So that would be 8,000 BTU a gallon?
Yeah. If you want to be very critical about it. And again, you always try to compare similar units. Combustion. This is important. This is going to be on many exams. I love this exam whenever you go. I don't know why this question. It's what is the composition of air? I mean, it makes sense if you're going to do combustion to understand what you are burning. Combustion is burning. So air is 21% oxygen, 79 nitrogen. Why do you need the right mixture? Think of a gas grill or candle wick. Do you notice when the candle gets longer, you start saying what? Start to smoke, right? So you have to go and cut it, which means that too much fuel to the air, and if it gets too short, the same thing. You get too much air to the ratio. So if you get too much or too little, there's always incomplete combustion, which is other material becoming volatile without burning. So you get some wax or oil coming out, and it's not burning completely.
So you're saying that if there's too much oxygen in the air, then there'd be more combustion.
It will be incomplete.
Pardon me?
It will be incomplete combustion. You might have different kind of products. But smoke usually, that means less air. But if you have more air, probably you have something also incomplete combustion. And you will see that also in the, when we do the combustion efficiency, if we open the air completely, so why don't we just open the air and have as much as you want? Too much air is not good as well. You'll have different kind of products. Carbon monoxide and different kind of combustion. So you want the right amount of air. Did anybody have to work with carburetor?
What?
Carburetor. So those things will be pain to balance, but you need some expert. There's always some kind of mechanic who can eyeball it and tell you the amount of air. If you get too much air to fuel, the car is not going to run correctly. If you get the opposite again, it's not going to run correctly and it might overheat. It took me a month to try to like tweak it out to know what is the right ratio and get the car to perform properly. So instead of 170 horsepower, you get like 90. And you do it right. Primary air and secondary air. Primary air is the air coming with the fuel. Secondary air is the air that you have at the chamber. When you burn, you create a vacuum, and you want to supplement that vacuum with some kind of air. So you have some kind of secondary air coming in. Have you ever hear about spontaneous combustion? It is a fact, by the way. It's proven. There are people who like to spontaneously combust.
What?
I've seen it in National Geographic. They don't understand
Ruin
why.
your whole day.
Nobody knows why. It happened. There are documented cases.
Walking along.
It's not like that. It's not like catching fire. You don't know why.
Yeah.
Nobody understands that. It's
So
just-
what'd you say secondary air was?
It's once you burn the fuel inside the chamber, you might run out of fuel, so it will create a vacuum. So you have to supplement that with air. So it comes after the combustion. This is the general formula that you might want to remember at some point. I will make it a little bit easy. So, what is this? What does it look like? Hydrogen and carbon,
Carbon,
which hydrocarbon, which is what?
oil.
Any oil, coal, fuel, gasoline. That is hydrocarbon. O2 is oxygen. N2 is nitrogen. So oxygen, this is air. This is just air. You can just take that and put air. I'll be okay with that. Spark, and that's it. So if you think if your small hand lighter, there it is. So if you just put fuel plus air plus spark or ignition. So think of your hand lighter. That's what you're doing. Fuel is inside the butane. The air is outside.
Okay.
And spark is coming from the wheel. What do you get out of that? You get heat, which is fire, right? You get CO2, carbon monoxide,
Plus
Dioxide.
plus E.
dioxide,
Oh, that's right.
plus water. Plus other stuff.
How do you get water?
Huh?
How do you get water?
You have hydrogen and you have oxygen. When you turn your car early morning, as it warms up, you see water dripping from the muffler.
Yeah.
This is the beginning. That's the combustion, and that's the water. Why is it happening only in the morning? Because the muffler is cold and the condensation is gathering around the muffler and dripping. Once the muffler heats up, you don't see the water dripping. It's gonna evaporate. If you put your hand at the muffler, it will get wet. That's your water coming out. So whenever you have combustion, you always have water. SOx and NOx, as they call them, is sulfur oxide and nitrogen oxide. Those two are caused by the incomplete combustion, having too much air or having too much heat, and those things that we don't want. They can be there, but we can eliminate them.
That's what the DEF systems do in diesel engine. The little ones, they try to eliminate as much of that as
Yeah,
possible.
yeah.
that,
Uh,
so.
So this is sulfur oxide. Where does the sulfur comes from? Sulfur comes from the fuel. Diesel is high sulfur product, has a lot of sulfur. So in the US we have low sulfur.
And NOx too.
Yeah.
It's really high.
And Europe have zero sulfur, which means there's a lot of processing going on into the diesel to take the sulfur out of it. Sulfur is very bad for your chimney, for your atmosphere, for acid rain. It's acidic. Sulfur oxide is highly acidic. It's not something you want to be around.
What's the difference between explosion and combustion? Is that the same thing?
No, it's different. Explosion denotes pressure buildup. Combusting just under regular pressure. There is no series of different pressure sequence. For example, if you have a chamber, you can have an explosion. If you put too much fuel and put too much air and you light it up, it's gonna create a lot of pressure. Meanwhile, fire is just like outside, open the chamber, then the fire is gonna be fire. If you build that pressure, that's explosion.
So, it's an explosion.
Yeah. Implosion? Huh?
Collapses in itself.
Nah, that's a misconception. Implosion is different.
Really?
It's physical. Yeah.
What's NOx?
Nitrogen oxide. So, implosion is a different physical phenomenon, but it has nothing to do with things going inside. Okay, common terms for heat, we know this already, but I'll go over them quickly. BTU, the energy in 1 pound of, to raise 1 pound of water to 1 degree Fahrenheit. Also, they say it's the energy in 1 matchstick. So many names. Calorie, energy to raise 1 gram of water, 1 degree Celsius, that's 1 calorie. Horsepower, conversion, and there's also boiler horsepower. You'll see this in power plant, right? If you took power plant, this is your horsepower. SI system is the international system, SI International. Why is it called System International?
It's used everywhere in the world but here.
Yeah, and it's, so the story, nobody knows why the US is not part of it. It's the only country that's not part of it.
No, there's one other one. There's only like, there's like 2 or 3.
Only 2, Cambodia and the
Yeah,
US.
2, yeah. I don't get it.
Yeah.
That aren't part of what?
Huh?
That aren't part of what?
The SI system. However, they are slowly transitioning into it. Detroit is completely SI now. All new cars are done with the metric system. No more 516 or 338 and this kind of things. It's becoming all the metric system. The metric system was invented in France, and the joke goes that when they did the conference between all the countries, they didn't invite the US. So out of spite, we know what, we'll stick with it. Because even in the UK, when they invented the imperial system, they switched to the SI system. Because it's kind of easier to remember.
Makes more sense.
Like, yeah, more sense. 1 meter, 100, 10, it's decimal, all decimal. Meanwhile, we have foot, that's 12, and we have a mile, that God knows how many feet is that. Like, why? It's just very abrupt, you know, numbers, ounces, there's fluid ounce and there's volume ounce. How many ounces in a liter, in a pound?
16.
In a pint? What's a pint?
Pint is 4 quarts? 2 quarts.
See, it's really very complicated. I mean, I had to study it, but I still don't remember it. I have to look it up. So anyway, SI system, we go with kilowatts and BTUs. BTU, I think, is going to be the last unit that we will maintain as imperial because we just used to BTUs. However, ACs are changing to tons. So we're doing more tons now, radiation. And everything else is kilowatt. Okay, we get the idea. This is a burner. It can burn gas, it can burn oil, it can burn pellets, it can burn whatever you want with it. This is the idea. If you are burning stuff in your house, there's fire. But do you notice that most people don't know? I was with the landlord one day and he told me, yeah, we have oil heat. He doesn't know what's happening inside. I think the oil just makes heat by itself. Okay, you understand there's a fire going on there. No. The system convert oil into heat. You put oil, it becomes heat. Okay, listen, keep it this way. Why? People will freak out. They know there's a fire going on all the time. That's why there's no window, you don't see anything, they don't want you to see anything. It's psychologically not sound for people to know that there's a fire going on all the time, even though it's safe. So maybe keep it this way as well. So, hey, don't look to see the fire. Something psychologically does not set well with people when they see fire. That's why even they stopped having this little window. Where you can look at the fire. People do not want to see that. They don't want to think about it. But everybody got a fire in their house going on all the time. So we are firing either gas or oil or wood or whatever you have. Somebody actually have a call here. I just heard. It's really weird. But anyway, so the burner. That's the part where you can supply the fuel. You have the air. This is the secondary air. So the primary air comes in with the fuel. Secondary air comes from the top. That's to make up for the pressure differential inside the air. So the air comes out from the chimney of the combustion, and this is the heat changer. We want to heat and use convection, heat some fluid. So, what is the temperature in the chamber? Let's say we're heating with oil. What is the temperature here?
160, 180?
No, more than
Of
that.
what, a furnace?
Yeah, inside the chamber.
600?
Oh, I was thinking
600.
the water,
Yeah.
sorry.
650.
That's a great
650 is the combustion temperature of
60.
oil. What is the temperature here?
450.
450. So I'm sucking in only 200. So I'm dumping 450 degrees into the atmosphere. That doesn't seem smart. But you cannot have it lower. If you have it lower, you'll have condensation, and you'll have the same thing as your car muffler, where you're gonna drip acid into your chamber, and that's no bueno. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna use something called condensing boiler, where you take this pipe and run into a heat exchanger and suck all the heat until you dispense the air at 60 degrees, which is much better than 400. So 300 degrees are used inside. But what I'm gonna do with all the liquid, the acidic liquid, you have a special filter made out of calcium pellets that you can change every year. You run this through it, you take all the acidity and you dump it into the sewer.
Where does the heat go that they reclaim?
You pump it back into the house.
Oh, there's a little thing with a
Yeah,
blower
yeah.
that blows it back
Yeah,
into the house,
yeah.
like just through some hole?
Yeah,
And that's the condensing ones?
yeah, that's condensing
That's
boiler.
new.
It's newer, it's been here since the 80s or 70s,
Oh,
but people do not use it because they were not that efficient.
90s,
And it's very involved. What's it?
late 90s.
Late 90s? I think back in the 70s too. They had it, but it was very involved installation, the filters, etc., etc. Actually, there's students actually from this class who graduated in the 60s, and he has his own companies selling those filters.
So right now, right there, what's it called, a condensation?
No, condensing boiler.
Condensing boiler.
Or furnace. They're very small. They're very easy to install. I mean, relatively now, and they have some of them have also a phone application. Okay. Another concept I want you to think about thoroughly. It's very important. It's called the sealed versus open combustion. What do we mean by that? So sealed combustion, you take the combustion air from the outside and you dump your thing outside. The house has no interaction with the combustion whatsoever, which is very good for people because they don't want to look at these things. They want to see a box that makes heat. They don't want to know why or how. So the open combustion, you pull the air from the house, from the basement, and you dump out the combustion air into the furnace. What is the problem? I personally prefer the sealed one because with the open one, you have to compensate for the air you take it from the basement. And you also have to take air from the basement all the time. So if they block the air sealant, you have an issue. If you have a lot of animals
You're
here.
saying if you have a good seal in the house, it would create a vacuum and if
Yes.
okay.
You have to open a
I
couple
was
of
gonna
windows.
ask you about that, like why don't they pull the warmer air in to the furnace? It'd be more efficient if you did that.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, if that's the case, then I see why.
yeah.
Is that what they're doing there? They're just putting warm air in?
Yeah, so now you have only one hole here, which actually sucking in air, going into the furnace for combustion here, and whatever comes out comes from the outside. So one hole for both in and out, and we're done with it. The thing is sealed, it's doing its own thing, it does not need anything from the house, and it's better design. A lot of the European designs actually have that configuration. Woderas and Wiesmann, they're always sealed. I think it's the best way to do it instead of dealing with the house stuff. Okay, a gas furnace. Again, gas, whenever it's convenient, is a preferred choice for heating because it burns cleaner, it's easier to light up. However, it has some issues too. When it leaks, it spreads out and can cause suffocation So it has ups and downs. However, it is overall it has better advantages than oil. So this is the heat exchanger. It looks like a gas grill. Basically, it's a gas grill. 3 manifolds with holes in them. They go on, and the flames are very small, and the blower motor just blows the air to the plenum. Sealed combustion venting. Again, if we are using a condensing boiler, we can use plastic for the vent, because what is the temperature of at the vent? 60 or 70 is very low, so it's okay.
Are they all gas or oil?
Both. I've seen both. But to be honest, I think gas is better for this kind of applications because it makes it a little bit convenient. Okay. Hot air system. Let's talk about that. So, what is the advantages and disadvantages of hot air system? What is hot air? This is hot air. This is hot air. They call it hot air. They call it forced air. So basically, we're using the heat to heat air, which is good because we are sitting around the air now. Air is around you, so it will react faster to you. You'll feel it faster. Meanwhile, with the radiator here, you turn it on and you have to wait 20 minutes to feel the heat. Right? You heat the water, and the water comes in and heat the air, and the air circulates. So it's a little bit longer. So it is fast. Also can be coupled with AC. A lot of people are thinking of putting ACs now in their houses. Summers are getting hotter. Climate change. So people are thinking, okay, might as well just put a hot air with an AC. Is the duct gonna be the same size? Which one is gonna be bigger? Do we need more heat or more cold air in New England? Heat. We need more heat.
Oh, yeah.
So the heat ducts are going to be bigger. They're going to be different. So you have to consider that. You have more losses depending on how you run the duct. Again, duct is an art. How do you run duct through the house? Where do you run it through? That's important. Depending on how you construct the duct and how do you think about it and do the proper calculation. And nobody does. Nobody does. Everybody eyeball it, and you see duct going through a closet, see duct going through a wall, see duct that look really crimped. It's, again, you're gonna pay for that at some point. There's only few people who actually have the finesse and patience to do good duct work that actually functions. So,
How does it work?
huh?
How does it work then? Like, how does it heat the house?
How does it heat the house?
Yeah, like, because if it doesn't go through like a
This is pumping hot air right now. So it works like through a plenum. You have big duct with hot air. You blow hot air. So when we look at the furnace here, so this is the furnace. It's heating the duct, and this is big duct system, the trunk. They call it the trunk, and you have hot air rising, and it branches out into pipes. If you look outside here, the plenum, and all those are flexible ducts coming to each one of those registers, and this is the suction. So when it's a big duct over here, and there are some flexible ducts coming down.
So we have a hot air.
Yeah. This is the heat pump that heats and cools, depending on what you want to turn on. And it's not burning anything. It's completely refrigeration cycle. So it can be coupled with AC. That's what we have here. This is a heat pump. And this is also a heat pump. We have two systems in here. It's versatile. What does that mean? I mean, you can put a lot of things in it. You can use it to humidify the air. You can put a filter in it because you're controlling the air that is circulating through the house. You do not need radiators. You just need vents everywhere. Its advantages, it requires humidity control because we are going to dry up the air. The air comes up very dry. And so sometimes we can put humidifier in the duct system. Forced convection, it's not everybody's cup of tea. People do not like hot air or air pumped into their body. People don't like draft. it's better to have, and it's also very noisy. You'll hear the air coming. So no matter how soft it is, you're always going to hear it. Unlike the area where you hear nothing. In the beginning, you heard some crackling from heating the pipe, but then it's very quiet. So that's, I personally do not like forced air because of the noise. If you're sensitive to noise, you're not gonna like that. If you're sensitive to draft, you're not gonna like that. If you have any sinus issues, you're not going to like that because it does stir up the dust all the time, a lot of particles. It circulates more air, so air coming all over the place. If you have animals and hair is gonna be all over the place. Things do not have a chance to settle at all. It is costly in terms of installation of the ducts. It takes a lot of time and effort and skill to install duct. Most duct actually are done in a shop and transferred to your house. There are some cheaper ways to do ducts, but they're not as reliable. Probably you've seen a lot of trucks in the highway with pieces of duct coming that are manufactured. There are cheaper ways to do it, but it's not going to be as heavy duty as this.
There's another thing there too, is if you cover up any vent, whether it's return or supply, if you cover enough up, it could trip a limit switch in the furnace on high limit or low limit.
Probably, yeah, probably. Probably like a zoning using this, like if you close everything up, you might trip the furnace to shut off because it reached the high limit, yeah. This will happen. This is an example of a duct, and again, there's a lot of solid connection that has to be done between ducts and connections. And also you want to insulate ducts from the source, otherwise you lose the heat or cold air before it reach. Okay, I'll stop here and do the steam and hot